Hi everyone. In this week's video, we're talking about growing spinach and bok choy indoors under grow lights from seed to harvest. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Riley and welcome. And today we're not in my garden because it is late May, South Texas. It's high 90s outside with very high humidity, and it's just really uncomfortable to be outdoors for more than 10 or 15 minutes at a time. About 2 weeks ago, as the temperatures started to climb here in South Texas, I really got thinking about how much I missed my fall and winter greens, how much I missed my bok choy and my spinach. And here in South Texas, I can only grow them from about mid-October through April of each year. But for the rest of the year, I just have to do without. And this year, I really didn't want to do without. My plan this year is to grow them indoors under grow lights from seed to harvest, and in this series I'll take you through the entire process. In part one of this series, in this video today, I'm going to be talking about what is the LED grow light I chose, why I chose that grow light, what is my setup going to look like to grow these greens all summer long indoors from seed to harvest, and what are my expectations for this grow. Before we get to the unboxing, let's talk about why I chose spinach and bok choy. I chose spinach and bok choy because they're my favorite cut and come again vegetables. And what I mean by that is I can harvest the outer leaves off of these plants. I can cook them for my family. The plants will regenerate themselves, and I can come back a week later and harvest again. And I can do this cycle over and over 8 to 12 times before I really need to worry about replacing those plants with new starts. So that's why I chose spinach and bok choy. They're also some of my favorite vegetables. I've already done a few videos on how I cook these for my family, and I'll leave a link to those videos in the video description below. My plan this year to grow the spinach and the bok choy indoors is to grow them in standard 10-inch by 20-inch seed cell starting trays like this, and placing them side by side. So the total area is going to be 20 inches wide by 40 inches long. I'm going to be using some basically window planter boxes, 2 of them in each of these trays. They're about 5 inches deep and about 5 inches wide and about 20 inches long. And that should be plenty of soil for these leafy greens, these bok choy, these spinach to grow. So how did I choose the LED grow lights that I selected for this grow? I've already done a couple of videos on how to select grow lights for seed starting. I've done a video on how to select an LED grow light that will allow you to give your tomato plants enough light intensity to skip the hardening off process before you move them to their final home in the garden. I'll leave a link to those videos down in the video description below. I used a lot of that research that I had done in the past to select these grow lights for this grow this year, and that's what I want to talk about right now. You know, I could have easily used a 24-inch by 48-inch T5 high output fluorescent fixture, putting out about 40,000 lumens of light. Really would have been enough for this grow. That is a pretty expensive investment though, and I wanted to try to do this as least expensive as I could. What I want for this grow is I want about 100 to 200 watts per seed cell starting tray. These lights, which are 48 inches long, are pulling 140 watts from my wall. So this is going to be enough for about half of this seed cell starting tray. If these work out well, I'll be adding another one of these to this to grow these plants. That would still be about 50% of the cost of buying T5 high output fluorescents in a 24-inch by 48-inch fixture. Let's do the unboxing and I'll talk about why I selected the lights that I did. These lights I got on Amazon. They were $60. They are a full spectrum grow light. And what that means is you've got light represented from basically all parts of the spectrum in these lamps. What that looks like to the eye is, it looks like a yellow light when we look at it. So it's not that blue grow light or the pink grow light that you may see advertised on Amazon or at Walmart. This is a full spectrum grow light. It looks yellow to our eyes, and I'll put up a picture of what the light distribution looks like for a full spectrum grow light. Why did I choose it? I chose it because all of my LED grow lights are full spectrum grow lights. I have several, and that type of light has always worked really well for me. Be really careful when you're shopping for grow lights, because these are advertised as 800 watt equivalent, and they're not 800 watt equivalent. They say that because there's 800 available LEDs, and each of the LEDs has a maximum output of 10 watts. And so theoretically, that would be 800 watts of light. But the light's only pulling 140 watts from the wall. So that is the maximum amount of power that these lights are going to be using to convert energy into light. Really, what you always want to be looking at is how much is the power being drawn from your wall socket. And you want from 100 to 200 watts over a single 10 by 20 inch area. I'm having a lot of problems with this box here. Let's see if we can get it open. Okay, got it. So the first thing that I will say is, and I knew this, these are very, very narrow. So let me show you what we have. Get the burr off here. Get it off this end. Okay. So there is the light. You can see that is only about 2 inches wide. And I have 2 of these in this. They've also come with these light reflectors that look, well, they're a little flimsy, but I would imagine they go in something like this. Let's see if we can do this. Or not. We'll have to figure that out later. So they come with these little wings that are going to go on them, and they're still not going to be, that is just not going to be enough, in my opinion, for this full tray. But we're going to give it a shot. Full spectrum grow lights, we've got 140 watts. That's going to be enough to cover half of this growing area. These are daisy chain lights, so I can set these up. Connected to each other. Get everything out of the box. So there are my wings. Okay. And they're going to come with individual hangers. The individual hangers have never worked really well for me. What I'm going to be doing is they have little screws in the top of them that I can use to connect. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting a bracket on top of these so that I can lower them and raise them all with one set of wires. But all in all, they look decent. I have some work to do to set this all up, and I'll go ahead and go off camera and get this all set up. I'm going to bring you back next week. I'll show you the setup. We're going to prepare our containers. We're going to prepare our soil. We're going to be starting our seeds in the next video because I'm going out of town for 10 days and I can't start the seeds and then leave the house for 10 days. So all in all, I'm not, look, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic. As long as they're pulling 140 watts, I know they're going to be enough for about half of my growing area. I may be surprised. Maybe they'll be enough for the whole growing area, but we'll see. Everyone, thank you for watching. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you'll be notified next week when we put out part 2 of growing our bok choy and our spinach indoors.